the next thing I want to have you do is to go ahead and download one of the editors. So I will downloading Visual Studio Code. So code.visualstudio.com. All right, so there we are on Visual Studio code.visualstudio.com. There are a couple of things that you find there. What you're interested in right now is to just come and download your editor and leave. But you may come back here and look for documentation, tips, API, and extensions later on. So depending on which Windows, which operating system you're using to browse these websites, you would see your version here. So because I'm using Windows to record this tutorial, so I have download for Windows. But if I click on these options, I will see other operating systems. So I have Mac OS, I have Windows, and I have Linux. So you can just pick your choice. If you're on Mac, you pick this choice, pick stable version. Windows, its Debian version is the one that's available. Pick it up, and then if you're on Linux, Debian version or RPM version, you pick it up. Alright, so just go ahead and download. I'm not going to be downloading with you, I already have it. Just click and you get downloaded. Download it, follow through the instructions of installation, and then catch up with us. Okay, so now once you have it installed, just look for, maybe click on your Windows, you have Visual Studio Code, and there it is, and have it open. So this is how the interface looks if you're opening it for the first time. You have something like this. The first thing is start. What do you want to start? A new file, open folders, or hard workspace folder. So if you have been working and then you have identified or created a workspace, then you can add a workspace folder here. You can open a folder. If you have a work you're working on before now, then this is a new file where you start from. And then customize. You may want to customize the look and feel of the Visual Studio Code just to ensure that it works with you. I like dark theme, and that's what I'm working with. So if you're not comfortable with dark theme, you can just come to color theme here and pick your choice. You can pick red, you can pick whatever it is that you pick. You can, monarchy, just pick. Feel free and pick your choice. I'll be back to my dark theme. I love it a lot. So default dark, that's what I'm going to be using. So there are a couple of other dark Visual Studio and all of that, so I'll be back with that. So settings and keyboard key bindings, you can go in there to customize your Vim and all of that. And then tools and languages, Visual Studio Code is used to write codes, and then there are a couple of code extensions so that you want IntelliSense. IntelliSense is when you write, you don't have to write the entire thing. It just suggests to you when you begin to type, every single syntax that matches what your intention will show up, and then you can just pick it up. So you can use these tools and languages extensions to install extensions, so that if you're writing a JavaScript, you don't have to just overwork yourself. Just type a few. It helps you to complete it. Auto completion. You have the TypeScript, Python, PHP, and all of those. Any language you're writing. In fact, HTML equally has its own as well. So if you want to, so these tools and languages, you can just come there and pick their tools. And then you want to learn more about these environments, you can come in here and find and run all commands. And then interface overview, you just want to have an overview of the interface. I'm not going to be boring you with that. This is really straightforward. Visual Studio Code is straightforward. But you just want to be a guru at what you do. You want to be that proficient at what you do. So you may want to have to at least let me know the environment I work with, just in case I get missing. I know how to find my way around it. So you can come out here and learn the interface overview, and then interactive playground, create a playground for yourselves, and then work with. And then this is where you get help if you ever need help using this interface. There's a whole lot of documentation. So printable keyboard cheat sheet. Cheat sheet is just that sheet that gives you tips and tricks on how to do stuff easily and in a very smart way, and you without having to overwork yourself. So and then if you're working with SCM, GitHub repository, Stack Overflows, and all of those things, you can get help from all of this like that. So, but we're not. I just try to at least introduce it to you at the very surface level, so you can come and explore yourself. So I don't want to bore you with it. Visual Studio Code is really very straightforward to use. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is just straight on, I will go to file and then create a new file. So I can just hit my Control N, or I can just come to file and say create a new file. So when I create a new file get created. This is the welcome interface that we're seeing earlier on, and this is an untitled page because we're not giving it a title. Now I know that I want to work with HTML. Okay, so the first thing I want to do will be to save my file first. So I'll go to file, and if you're following through this tutorial, please, you can just follow through as I'm doing it. So I go to file and save as, or use my keyboard shortcut Ctrl Shift S. So when I save it, now I want to be able to save in a place I can easily, remember. So I will come here on my desktop. I'm saving on my desktop. So ensure where you're saving it is a place that you can locate. You don't start thinking of. So now I hit on new and I create a new folder. And I call it HTML5 tutorial. HTML5 tutorials. Alright, so I open a folder, so that's where I'm going to be saving all my files. So I call this one lesson 1. Now when you're saving an HTML file, you have to save it with the right extension. By default, all files that you create here will be a plain text, and then it will be appended to .txt will be appended to it. That's the extension of a plain text. But what you're writing is not a plain text, it's an HTML. So you need to put an extension .html. Okay, so to indicate that this is a web document, it's not just an ordinary document. If you're working with a Word document like Microsoft Office documents, your extension will be like .doc. If you're working with PowerPoint or PPT and all of that. So when you work with HTML, the right extension to save it with is HTML or HTM. There are a couple of other extensions like C# HTML, JS HTML, PHP HTML, and all of that. But since we are just beginners, so let's keep it simple. So when you're done with writing your saving, this is your preference. You pick any name of your choice, but ensure that you don't, you don't want to use a space in between like that. Just it's important that you have it, you keep it like this. So I call it lesson 1, and then .htm or .html will be good. Then if I don't want to do this, I could come here, save as type, because I'm using VS Code. VS Code have a couple of languages that it recognizes, so I can just look for what I'm writing HTML, and then when I do that, I do not necessarily have to put .html here, because the reason I was putting .html earlier on was for the document to be recognized as an HTML document. So once I do this, it will append it for me by itself. So when I do this now, so I can have that open. Lesson 1.html is being opened. Okay, and then pretty much it's blank, and I can go look for it. Let me go look for it. So I'll just go to my desktop. So I have this HTML5 tutorials. Now if I open this, now I'm going to open with my Chrome. So when I open with my Chrome, so I have a blank document. So the reason I'm having blank document is obvious, because we don't have any content yet. So just saving it as .html brought up something like this. Okay, now the first thing you want to know when you're writing HTML is, let's know the rules. What are the rules here? Every single language that you speak or write have their rules. These are how we do our things here. So HTML is not an exception. It has its own, do's and don'ts, even though it's a very forgiving language. HTML, the first thing you want to know is HTML is written in tags. So we call it tags. It's written in tags. By tags, we mean this. Okay, so HTML is written in tags. So a less than sign and a greater than sign. This is a tag. Okay, all right. So I can write Kenny, for instance. All right. So I can write. So this is a Kenny tag. So this tag will be referred to as Kenny tag. All right. So that's the first thing. HTML is written in tags, and then the next thing you want to know is open tag needs to be closed. All right, open tag needs to be closed. So when you have this is how tag is open. So I can have something like this, Kenny. So this one opens this Kenny tag, and this one closes the turning tag. So the closure of a tag is just putting a slash before the tag name. So for instance, if I create another tag here and I call it a U, okay, so the closure of it will be equals to /U. So all this I'm writing on the board on the screen right now are not really a valid HTML elements. I'm just trying to give it to us as an example. Alright, so if I want to write something that is valid, so I would have this deleted, so I can have something like this HTML, like that. So this is a valid, this is how, in fact, how we write HTML. So the first thing that's going to be, so we have HTML, and then when we're done writing the HTML, we have /HTML. This indicates that we're writing an HTML, and this indicates that we're done writing HTML. So this is the first thing you want to do. Now, because you're writing HTML5, there's something that is really very important, and that's the doc type. So the doc type is very important. You need to tell us is an HTML5 that you're writing. So if it wasn't HTML5, it could be the earlier version of HTML, so like XML and all of that. But this is HTML, so we have HTML. Okay, so that is the doc type. This tells the browser how to decode, what you're writing has an HTML5 document. Okay, so we have that like that. So that's the doc type. If you don't put it, it still works, but it's important that you put it there. You understand? So this one is the start of an HTML, and this is the head of an HTML. Still talking about the tag. So we said this is an open tag and this is a closed tag. Flag, you don't need to close a doc type tag. What about doc type tag? Do I have to close that? No. This appears first on the first line on your HTML page will be the doc type, and then telling it that it's an HTML document. Okay, so the next thing you want to know, apart from knowing that HTMLs are written in tags, and you know that specifically when you write tags, you close them. And then there are some tags that we would encounter later on. They're self-close, and if you don't close them, there's no problem. Okay, now the next thing is HTML structures. HTML structure. So this is the structure of an HTML. We have the head, and then the body. So because I'm using this VS Code and he has IntelliSense, each time I open it, I don't have to worry myself to close it by myself. He closes it for me, and I appreciate it for that. So this is the basic HTML structure. So let me give this a space so we can have it. So at a very basic level, every single website that you open has this. Every single website, go to Google, go to Facebook, just open up their codes that I'm going to be showing you later on. You see the structure. You see every single website has this. So this is the HTML structure. So when you look at this structure, you see it like pretty much like your letter. When you write your letter, when you write a letter, whether formal or informal, you have the head section of the letter and the body of the letter. The head section carries your data. Maybe for instance, if it's a formal letter, you have the address of the writer and the address of the addressee. You have all of that, and then the salutation part before you now come into the body. So this is very similar to HTML as well. The head section is that sections that holds information about the page. It holds the metadata of the page. So some of the resources that the body will be using would be included through the head, and the head is going to be telling us a lot more about the page. The contents that we put in the head does not show in the body. So every single thing that we want to be visible on our web will be placed under the body tag. For instance, if I want this to be seen, so I can come in here and I say, welcome to my first HTML page. Alright, so if I have that saved, each time you have this there, it means you've not saved something. So if I have this saved and go to my page, which was blank earlier on, so if I refresh that, I can then have welcome to my first HTML page. Okay, so every single thing that I want visible to my user would be placed within the body tag, and then the metadata that we are going to be seeing later on, like the meta tag, the link to my other files that will be styling this page, my JavaScript and all of those will be placed within the head tag. Okay, all right, so this is the first thing that we have written on the page, and it's amazing that it came through. All right, so if you look at this thoroughly, you'll see that there's a basic difference between what you have written and what we saw, what we noticed on the Visual Studio Code that we went earlier to download the code editor. So you notice that they have something here called Visual Studio Code editor, and if I mouse through over it, it's telling me something like that. But your own is just telling you the name of your file. So pretty much this is not appropriate. This is not appropriate. So you want to have something here. You want to have similar to what they have. So you can have that is called a title. So the title would be in your head tag. So I have title. So title. So I can call it HTML5 tutorials. So let me have it tutorials. All right. So I save that. Then if I have this refresh, then I can have my HTML5 tutorial there. So we can have this like that. So that's my title. So later on, we are going to be changing this fav icon here to our own choice of icon. So we can see that Visual Studio Code have their own icon there, but this one is using our default browser's icon. So we want to change that later on. Now that we have something printed on our page, can we go ahead and work with it? Now I'm going to have another thing. So welcome to my first HTML page. It's really exciting. It's really exciting. So I put a full stop here, and I put a couple of space, and I save that. Now after saving that, if I go to my browser and refresh, wow, it's coming through. So I have welcome to my first HTML page. It's really exciting. But one thing you notice though is on your code editor you have this, it's really exciting on the next line, and in fact it is not the next line, there's a line in between, there's a space in between them, and then before you have it's really exciting. But when you go to your browser, they're still on the same straight line. So this is how it works here. As far as this code is concerned, there's no instruction that is telling it to go to the next line. So until you tell it to do so, it will be seeing them as if they are one. Okay, so and that takes us to another thing to learn, and that is what we call line breaking. So line breaking is, you want to break, you are done writing on a single line, so you want it to continue on the next line. So and that doesn't happen by magic. You have to put a command there, and that command is what we call a BR tag. A BR tag helps us to take our content to the next line. So, and I'm going to place the BR tag in the place where I want it broken. So I can have it here, BR. Now you notice that even if I close this, so this is an example of a self-close tag. So if I do something like this, I need to close it on the same tag. I don't have to open it here and close it like others, like body is closed, or like head tag is closed, or like title is closed. It's a self-closed tag because it doesn't have, it's not a block, it doesn't have content. It just helps us to separate lines. So we have saved. Now if I refresh this now, so I can see it on the next line. So we have welcome to my first HTML page. Is really exciting, or I'm really exciting, or let me say I'm so excited. So it's your English, so feel free to change it to whatever it is that you want to change it to. All right. So the next thing I want to do is, let's say I have another content. I have another content here. So I'm so interested in web programming. All right. So it's no longer a news that I want it to. If I want it to be on the next line, I'm going to have it um, to put a B out there. So if I refresh this, um, expectedly it's going to be on the same straight line as that, because there's no BR tag there. So I can go ahead and put a BR tag again, and then ensure that I'm writing a good HTML. I do this. If I don't put this, it's still going to work. It's still going to work, but I want to ensure that I follow the good practice or the best practice, and I have this like this, and this is the right thing, and then you go. It's done. Now sometimes we want something even more. So let's say this one here, I don't want it to just be the next line. So I probably want it to be a paragraph. I want some spacing. I want a distinction between this content and the other content. So I want it to start fresh. So I can come up here and say, to write a paragraph is just a p tag. Okay, so a p tag creates a paragraph for me, and then the content of the paragraph, the entire content of the paragraph will be enclosed in the p tag. So I'll open it, I'll write the content of the paragraph, and then when I'm done writing it, I'll close the p tag. So let me have it broken like this, so it looks like a clean code. So when I save that, I can come in here, refresh, and I have it. So you'll notice a difference between a BR and a paragraph. So you can notice the distance between welcome to my first HTML page is really exciting. Compare that to the distance we have in here. So that's one of the differences between a BR and a paragraph. So you have that to be there. So this is a paragraph. So the next thing I want us to learn is, of course, to change the background color of my page. To change the background color of my page. This page is really is white. There's some they like it like that, white and simple, but there's some they want to change it to their favorite color. Alright, so to change this to my favorite color, I'm going to be giving us two ways, the modern way and the way we used to do it. So back in earlier version before HTML5, if you want the body, your page, you want to give it a color, all you simply do is bg color. So you give it bg color. So you have bg color to be equals to, then you give it a color name. So let's say red. Save it. Now if you refresh this, you'll see the background color showing red. Okay, background color showing red. Now, so you notice that my editor painted this as red. So, and what that is telling you is that it's no longer supported in HTML5. All right, so even though it's working, but sometimes it might not. You can't predict the results from some browsers, so it's better you use what is best acceptable to modern browsers. But this works, and it used to work even before HTML5, and it still works. All right, so bg color equals to red, or bg color equals to green, like that. Will change my background color to whatever color I've chosen. And of course, you can even use combined color. So let's say light green or light blue. So let's say light green. You can have that saved, and it got lighting like that. So you have to be careful on how you write. So light green, there's no spacing between the first and the last, so you can just have them combined. All right. Now this is a way, and this is earlier version of HTML5 and still works a little bit with HTML5, but it's unpredictable, so it's not supported in HTML5. Now I want to write how you should be doing it. Okay, so be it bg color or whatever it, or the next thing that I want to write, this thing has a name that we call it. Okay, so the first thing that we wrote here is HTML, right? So, and every single thing that we've written here are called HTML elements. So each of these HTML elements has what we call attributes. So attributes is something that tells us more about an item. For instance, human beings have we have an attribute. One of our attributes is that maybe we eat, locomotive and all those stuff. Those are our attributes, and particularly, specifically, you watching this tutorial, you have specific attribute that differentiates you from others. All right, so each of these tags have attributes. So each time you write a tag and you put a space and you write something, beside that tag, you're trying to tell us more about that tag. So like for instance, now bg color was telling us more about this, or specifying another rule about that, telling us that the background color will be this, and then something else will be that, and like that. So this is an attribute. All right, so these attributes, we use it to specify the background color. All right, and it comes as key value or property and value. So this is a property, background color, and the value will then be placed in here. All right, now I'm not going to be using bg color for reasons I've told you. Is no longer fully supported in HTML5, or let's say it's not supported in HTML5. So this is how you should write it. So you use style. So this style works with every single tag, pretty much like bg color will have worked with every single tag as well. So this styles is capable as a style attribute. Style attributes is telling us, could be telling us about the background of the page, the fonts on the page, how the font of the page will appear, their color, their style, their size, like that. So you can just put that in there. So style, unlike bg color, is able to take multiple properties and value. bg color can only take one. bg color, the color name. But styles, you can put so much more inside style. The color of the text, the color of the page, the font style, every single thing about that page, you can describe them in the style of the body tag. But I'm going to keep it simple right now. So I say style equals to background color. So I can put background color. So what I want is background color. So the background color I want, so if you're using a fantastic browser like mine, so you can have this specified for you, or you can type it yourself. So background color red. So if you go back in here and refresh, so you see it's changed to red, and you can be sure that this is going to work everywhere, and you can go to sleep knowing that every single browsers that especially the modern ones that browse through your website, they will all see the color you want them to see. Then that's the background red. Okay, so this is how we change the background color of an element. It is not only the body alone. We could change background color of anything. So I can come into this paragraph and change the background of that entire paragraph to something else apart from red, so it shows up. So I use background color, and so let me use the background color of it to be something like this, so it's visible. Let me use background color of it like that. So if we come in here now, refresh, so we can see that is distinct from the rest, is having its own background like that. So we can use that background color, style equals to background color, to give any of these tag a background color. So we've learned how to at least write our HTML structures. Have your body and the old way of giving background color, which is the bg color equals to the color name, and the modern way of specifying styles. So this is so much more than just bg color. So for instance, now I can come in here and specify more. So if I need to write more of this property, apart from the background color, I want to write something like, so let's say the font color, for instance. The font color, I would, after the first properties and value, all right. So in styles, so let me make it a bit simpler for you. When you're writing style, you have, when you say style equals to, okay, the first thing you specify is called the property, and the second thing, so after the property you put a colon. The second item you're specifying will be the value of that property. So this is going to be dependent on which items you're styling. So for instance, if you're styling a body tag, which is pretty much this space here, what can you be styling about it? You can think about it. Probably you want to change the background color. Probably you want to change the font size of the entire content on the page together, not one after the other. So you look at that. So I want to style that. So if I want to change the background property, that becomes the property, and the value that you assign to that background property, like red, green, blue, yellow, those are the value. All right. So the here now, that's why you saw that here we say star equals to background color, which is the property, and then we said put a colon, and then we say red, which is the value of the property. Now if I need to change a font color is not font color. You won't write something like font color. That is not it. Okay. So all you need to just do is color. Just put color, and you need to be mindful of this color. Color is American color. So we have COLOR. So equals to, then you can put whatever it is that you want. Now these are multiple properties specified. So you have to separate each of those properties by what? A semicolon. So like this one right here is one property. This one right here is one property, and then this is the value, and this is another property that you're starting. All right. So you need to demarcate one property from the other by a semicolon. Okay, that's a rule that you have to follow. Now I put in here and I say the background, the color should be say white, and I save that. So if I save that, refresh that, so I can see that every single thing on the page, including the one on the paragraph, is white, and the ones I'll be writing, even the ones I'll be writing later on, everything will be white. So I just talk to all of them. Every single thing on this page, take color white, and then of course your background will be red. Okay, now so that's I just use it to explain something. So let me take it off the page. So another thing is, you will notice that the font is really tiny, so you can hardly see it. So you can talk to the style and say, okay, change the font size for me as well in the style. So this is why you see that this style is a little better than just using your basic color to change it, because it only takes one parameter. So I can go ahead and still, you can guess that I have to put a semicolon for obvious reason to demarcate one property from the other. So you may want to write space in here, so just for you to have some clarity. So but it's not required. So I just come in here and I say font size. So I can font size to change my font size. So I can go in there and I say font size equals to 35 pixel. Now the default fonts the fonts that you write on your page by default is 16 pixel, and the default color will be black. So now I want to have it bigger, so I can specify the color size. So I've just done that. When I refresh now, I can see that everything is becoming bigger now, and this is talking to every single thing in the content, all right. So so that's what we have. Now if I want this one in this paragraph to be distinct from everybody else, pretty much it's distinct because I already have its background distinct from the rest, but then the color is still following the color rule of the body. It's still following the color rule, even though it's disobeying the background rule. It has its own background rule, but it's still following the color rule because there's no override. There's no override. So if you want to override this color rule, you have to specify another color here. You understand? And it will obey this one. It's pretty much like military. It obeys the last order. Okay, so if there are a couple of others, the last one that is closest to it will be the one that will be obeyed. So now if I need this color to not be white, because if it's white I won't see it, and if I have to use this background, then I have to change this background, this font color. All right, so I can come in here and I say color equals to just semicolon, and then I can use any color of my choice that will show up. Okay, so I just want to use, this is just an example so you guys know that. So I can just use a violet. So if I save that, I refresh, just for us to know that now. So this one is now following a different rule, is following a different rule entirely from the entire page. So that is because there's a style that is specified for that tag. So if I come in here and I have another paragraph, so I say yes, another content. So if I save that and refresh it, so I'll notice that that is not following this rule because it doesn't have its own specific style tag specifying another background color or font color. You understand? So here is following these rules because we have it specified for it, and there's no rule specified here. Then it's now going to follow the rule that is specified in the body. Okay. Now, so what have we learned? So we've learned the HTML structures, head sections and the body section, and then equally how we can break lines. You have your contents, and then you want it to continue on the next line, you use a BR tag, and then it continues like that. You want so much more than just break. You want a paragraph, you want double space in between the content before and the content after, so then you have to use a paragraph, which is a P tag. Okay, now we use style tag to style any HTML element at all. So we just want to use any visible HTML element. I have to make that specific. You can't come in here and say you want to style the head, because the head is not visible. The fact that you're seeing this title does not mean that, okay, yes, I want to come here and do stuff like that. So that would be out of it. So every visible HTML element can be styled using this style tag. So the styles parameters that you're going to be using will be a function of what you're styling. So you can also think of it yourself. For instance, if you're styling something that is like a box, you may want to give it a width, a height, like that. Borders, background color, padding, margin, and all of that we're going to be seeing later on. So we have welcome to my first HTML page, the first content that we wrote, and then this like this. So I want to challenge you to try and create this yourself from scratch. Writing the whole structure yourself from scratch. Give it a background of your choice and write the content about yourself. Write the content about yourself. How about your family, and then give it font color and all of that. Now, so let's move on. So the next thing I want to introduce us to is what we call headings. Headings is quite important in web programming or in website development, because first of all, for the search engines will be using the header tags to crawl the content from your page. So if someone searches for something on the Google or any other search engine, so is the head tag of your page will help it. So if you're trying to build a site that is search engine optimized, so you have to use your head tag a lot. So the header tags will be describe the content of your page, and that is going to be helping the search engine. So it's important that we use our search engine, our header tags. So for instance, now if I want to give headings to my page, it's pretty much like I want to write about myself, just like I asked you to do, or I want to write about what I'm doing right now. So I can come in here and I say this is HTML5 tutorials. Okay, so now if I save this, even though I make this a distinct paragraph, or I give it a break from the rest, so let's say I break that, then I have it like this. So it's broken and it's there like that. Someone might see this as a different thing from here, but I want it to be highly distinct from them. So, and I want to make it header, and I want to make it header by saying it's an header. So I'll come in here and I will say H1. So these headers, there are about 6 of them. There are 6 of them, not about 6 of them. So I have this like this. Save. Now I have that. So you notice the difference between the first one I wrote and before I put the H1 tag around this, specifying that this is my first headings on this page. All right, so this is distance, and if someone searches on Google or any other search engine, Bing and all the likes, and search for HTML5 tutorials, there's a tendency that my page will show up. Okay, there's a tendency that my page will show up, even though there are a couple of other pages where you have HTML5, so it depends on other factors that affect page being show up. But having this making me to have a chance that my page will show up there. And of course, someone that is going through my page, that is reading through my page, knows what my page is about. So if my page are in sections, so you have various headings, so he knows where to read what is interesting to him and what is not interesting to him, rather than everything to just be together. So that's what we use heading tag for. So if I have here, I have HTML5 tutorials, and below it, that's the main page. And let's say below, I don't need this for it, because once you have HTML tag, it's going to be block, and the next content will be followed through from the next line. And you can see even the space that is in between them is not as the same space that you have in between just lines. So it's a separate stuff, and it's highly distinct from the rest. Now the next thing I want is to put another heading which is lower in rank to this first one. So let's say this is the first entire title of the thing on my page, and I have another thing there. Let's say this is welcome to my first HTML, so I can have introduction. So let's say I have introduction. So if I have introduction written, all right, so I'll make that heading 2 because it's lower in rank to the first one, HTML5. So what that means is having introduction under HTML5 tutorial, so it's a subtopic under HTML5 tutorial, so they are not going to be of the same rank. So if anything will be on the same rank, you can give them the same heading tag, but this one is of lower rank to this. So that is my intention, and that's why I will give to the page, and that will be useful to the search engine, and that will be useful to the reader or users of my page. Alright, so this is heading 2, so you can continue to have headings like that: heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, heading 6. So most of the times what we use, how we use heading 1 is order of importance, order of hierarchy. So the first on the line will be H1, so you can have them like that. We then have H2, you can have several H2s. Let's say after introductions there could be something like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4. All those will be in the same hierarchy because they belong in the same category. Okay, so under introduction, let's say you have a subtopic under introduction like HTML structures. So let's do all this I'm talking about. So let's say we have introduction, and then we have another one that we have H3, and let's say that one is that's under. Okay, before I have this, let's say we have H2 again, and then I have that to be lesson 1. Then I have another H2, and that is lesson 2, and I have another H2, and that is lesson 3, and so on like that. So all this, by your thinking, they are in the same level. Introductions, these are topics under HTML5 tutorials. And then under introduction, for instance, now you want to do stuff like HTML structures. So let's say this one is under here, you have H3, that is a subtopic under introduction, so which is lower in rank to this. So I can put that there, and I say h3, and I have HTML structures, HTML syntax, and then let's say I have another h3, and then I have structures, HTML structures. So let's say I have that, and so on and so forth, just giving an example of how this can be used. Then if you refresh this, so we'll see that the way it's being used, you have HTML5, you have the introduction, and under it you have HTML5 syntax, which is lower in rank to this, and then this HTML5 structure is also lower in rank to that. So then you have lesson 1, which is of the same level with introduction, of the same level with lesson 2, lesson 3, like that. So they're all of the same level. All right. So now if I have this, I could have, instead of h3, I could have this as h4 as well. So it's just telling us order of subordinations. I can have that as h4. So I'm telling us that you can see that it's smaller than h3, and then you can have h5 as well. So you can have stuff like h5 and then h6. So let's say we have that as h5. You can see that h5 would even be smaller compared to that. So HTML5 structure. So let me put this as h6, so you can see the difference between that and that. So say h6. All right, like that. So h6 is actually the last, so you don't have an h7. So you have the heading tags ranking from h1 to h6, and this helps us to structure our page content, so our readers are able to enjoy the content, so they can go straight to what interests them and what doesn't interest them. And then of course it's going to be useful to the search engine as well, to be able to just pick this. Someone just search on lesson 1, and the chances that you're going to be showing up is very high. All right, so added to that. Now the next thing, we've shown ourselves how to change background color of a page, and of course how to change the color of the page. Now before now, how you used to change color of a text, you could equally use what we call a font tag, but font tag is no longer supported in HTML5. So I can talk about it, but there's no point you using it. So just each time you want to change a font color of any element, just go in there, write style, and then you mustn't start it with this. You can start, there's no order of this color has to start before background color or whatever it is. So you can write color before that's font color before this. You can write any of them before the other. Okay, now so that is that about that. So the next thing we want to do is to move on to learning more about HTML elements. So we are going to move on to what we call formatting.